There we go. Welcome back, everybody. AlphaWarrior show. Just do me a favor before we kick this off. If I can get some thumbs up in the comments section. Just want to make sure you guys can hear me. I don't want to get 5 minutes into it and realize that nobody can hear me, know what I'm talking about. So just give me a loud and clear and some thumbs up and we'll get started. No thumbs up yet. All right, there we go. A little delay in it. So first thing I want to do is, off the advice of the great patriots that are listening, is I want to start off with some shout outs. So anybody that's here, in the comment section, give your name or your nickname and location where you're at. We'll start off with some shout outs and give everybody a minute or two to drag in here, especially for the ones that missed the awesome intro. Like I said last week, the best part of the show. Excited about tonight too, you guys. So I like what you got to say there, Ben. Alpha Podcast is my new favorite series. That's what I'm talking about. It's going to get better and better too. Let's see. Freedom Central from California. That's what I want to see. I like my California people. We got to stick together. Who else we got? We got Phil from Northwest Indiana. Doug Shipley in Las Vegas. You guys had some action out in Las Vegas today. I'm going to have to catch up with that a little bit later. Let's see, who else do we got? We got Acacia from Florida. I'm jealous. I'd like to be out there, let me tell you that much. James Gay, I love the intro. I like it too, man. That's why I put in some more work. So far, another Fetty VWAP from Florida. So looks like Florida's the powerhouse tonight, unless we got some more states in here. So I got my notes up here, you guys, so I'm going to glance to the left. I am going to try to keep this to about an hour tonight. I know last week we ran long to cover some stuff. Let's see, Lady Karen from Texas, GC from Los Angeles. All right, I knew my California would get in there. Carlos, North Carolina. Cindy in Arizona. You know what, Cindy? Wink emoji. I like that post you put out there on Twitter. That's good stuff. But like I said, I'm gonna try to stick to this schedule of things that I got lined up over here to the left because I want to stay on time. And on the last portion of the show, we have a special guest, and I really want to make sure that I give the time allotted for that. Nick from Coachella. What's up, neighbor? We're only a few minutes away from each other. Hit me up on Twitter, man. AlphaWarrior X. Get together, have a drink, have some Patriot talk. Randy in Minnesota. So, just to give you a summary of what we're going to cover tonight, a victory for the Patriots. You know, I know there's a lot of stuff we're talking where we're down and out. We're not happy about what's going on. Kemosabe, I'm glad you're here tonight. Tickle, South Africa. That's two of my favorites in here. I feel a lot better now. Even though you guys aren't with me, I see you guys in the chat. I feel like I got that backup and that support. So, and you know what? I realized my microphone is covering my shirt that I got just for tonight. How you guys like this? Freedom, baby. Freedom. So, someone in the comments remind me at the end of as we approach the end of the show, I got to raise money for my campaign and legal funds, and I came up with an idea. So, somebody make some noise in the comments before we wrap this up, so I can hit you guys up with something, see what you guys want to do, see if you guys want to partake in it. I think you guys will get a kick out of it, but there's going to be some rules. There's going to be some rules to it, I'll tell you that, because some of you guys are creative. So, ran a little disheveled. Trust me, I do my best to prep for this, you guys. And you saw the headphones I had last week. You know, somebody got those for me just for this show. I was super stoked. And they were connected to the plug, but the plug at the other end wasn't connected to the charger. So I got them charging right now. I'm gonna run the great AirPods, and hopefully they can last an hour. If they don't, then heck, you know, like I said, you know, this is amateur hour, but we'll get good information, and we'll do a headset change if I need to. But I think we'll be fine. So we'll talk about some stuff real quick about some of the victories we've had for the Patriots. We're going to go into the California recall. One of the important issues that we're going to talk about is the teachers and what they're doing to our children, turning them to radicals. And there's 2 videos I'm going to show. And then, like I said, we'll talk a little bit on it. And then we're going to go into our special guest, the father of one of the political prisoners that's in Washington, D.C. And like I said, one of my main things for coming up, you know, with this channel, this broadcast that we're doing, is you guys know it's near and dear to me what's happening to our political prisoners, and that was always, you know, mission number 1 and priority for me, and then everything else along with it. So it's nice to see that, you know, tonight we'll be able to kick that off. And like I said, there's another one that's lined up for next week. So actually, thanks to you guys, seriously, the amount of support. And like I said, this is what I mean. I go off topic. It's not on the list, but I got to thank you guys. It should have been on my notes. But the amount of support that I've gotten from you guys, you know, my social media, my friends, you know, my digital friends extended across the country, what you guys have sent to me in messages, you know, over the last week, it's just awesome. Because trust me, it's overwhelming, you know, to run all this stuff. But like I said, I'm not a quitter. But the prayers that I've gotten from you guys, it's just, I can't explain it. It's just been awesome. But on top of that, you know, some of you have reached out with your networking and have linked me up with special guests. And you know who you are. And I'll give you a shout out next week if I get your approval first. I don't want to throw your name out there if you're not okay with it. But we're going to have some awesome guests on this show that I am super excited about, you guys. And it's because of you. Like I said in our first episode, you know, this is the AlphaWarrior show. And I may be the hairy face that's on the cover of it, but you guys are the AlphaWarriors, and I will help light that fire under you guys so that you guys go and carry that out. And you guys are already doing it. I mean, we're 1 episode into it, episode 2 tonight, and you guys are ready. You guys are setting the lineup. I mean, so that's awesome, and thank you guys. So like I said, we're gonna have a special guest, you know, who's one of the fathers, and then there's a special request from one of our Twitter patriots that we'll get to do at the end of the night, something that's really cool, and then we'll have some closing thoughts. So like I said, I'm shooting for an hour. I'm really gonna, you know, I didn't overwhelm myself with all these videos and things that I want to show you. I think we're on cue to get close to the mark, and like I said, as we go through some episodes, and yes, hold on, this comment caught my attention. Cutie, like she said, like the button, smash that like button, share this, you guys. While you're watching this, click that little share button up in the right corner, however it's set up. Share it across your Facebooks, share it across Twitter, share it across Instagram. I mean, share it anywhere. Even if people can't watch it live, they can catch the stuff, that's going on later. But please share. I was very happy with, how many views that we have. It's a small channel. I'm a no-name person. I think we have like approaching 250 views or something like that from the last episode. That's 250 people that saw the message. And I'm happy with that. Like I said, if I have 5 people that are subscribed to this, but they are some hardcore, dialed-in, patriotic alpha warriors, I'm going to do it for those 5 people. Because to me, it's more important of the quality than the quantity. The quantity is nice, but I'll tell you guys right now, it's not my main objective, because YouTube is going to shut this down as soon as it gets traction anyways, and then we'll move into the AlphaWarrior 2.0. But like I said, if we can get this message out, download it, and share it, that's what matters. So with that being said, let me see if there's any, throw a couple in here. And definitely a shout out to the TRC Patriots from Twitter that are in here. Another shout out to the Kevin MySpace Patriots that are in here. There's some great people taking some leadership roles on social media, and I hope you guys are all here. So, but with that, let's start with the prayer, you guys. Father, I thank you for bringing us all together again on this evening. I ask that you clear my mind, you clear my thoughts, you guide my tongue, and you give me the wisdom that I need to speak the words that you want everybody to hear. I ask that you open up everybody's hearts, that you open up everybody's ears, that you bring us together as a nation, Father, and through love and through our faith in you, we can save what a lot of people think is unsavable. And I pray and I ask all this in your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. So, with that, let's talk about the first one. Let me get this share up. I was trying to do one of the tips you guys gave me on queuing this stuff up, but it doesn't necessarily work that way with StreamYard. So I tried some other stuff, and I think we'll be okay. But for now, it's gonna work this way. So you just gotta bear with me a little bit. So victory number 1, General Flynn. Let me take off you guys know where you're at. I'll put it up later. The AlphaWarrior show. The logo's cool, but I don't want it to block some of this stuff. So everybody's been down and out. I see this on our Twitter spaces. This isn't going and that ain't going. And I picked 5 or 6 things that I think are huge victories. Last week, one of the calls of action that I put on you guys was to get off the couch, get your asses up and do something. And one of those things was, the word had got out that Chase Bank had canceled General Flynn's bank account because keeping them as a customer was going to be too damning to their reputation. They didn't want to risk it, so they told him on September, I believe it was 18th, they would be closing down his accounts. And I told you guys, just like I'm sure a lot of other conservative influencers told their people, make some phone calls, close your bank accounts, let them know why you're going to close your bank accounts. And you know what? Boom, it's up there on the screen. Look at what you're reading. Chase Bank does an about face, apologizes for the General Flynn credit card cancellation letter, says it made an error, and they're reinstituting his bank accounts. General Flynn goes in, and I'll skim through the article. Like I said, it's him calling him out in the very beginning. But what I really like is what he wrote in the end. And this I do want to read, because this is from General Flynn to me, and this is from General Flynn to you guys. So, I want to sincerely thank everyone for your unwavering support for my family and I over this Chase Bank cancel culture nonsense. We'll fight through it like everyone else we've experienced these past 6 years. If Chase had any common sense and gave serious thought to the current environment instead of attacking my family because of our differing political views, they should immediately create a fund for the recently and tragically killed service members and those family members left behind. Chase Bank probably don't understand what term Gold Star means, but is an unimaginably difficult time for the family members of those left behind. My family and I are blessed because we are alive and have each other. I pray Chase Bank and all their cancel culture partners think twice about what they are doing to destroy the fabric of our Constitution. Trust me, the heart and soul of America will never be broken. We the people will prevail. And absolutely, we prevailed, you guys. We prevailed, and I hope that was a little bit big so you guys can see. We prevailed because everybody got off the couch and they did something. But this is what I'm going to tell you. So part of Mission 1 accomplished. But here's the thing. General Flynn is General Flynn. He has a lot of respect and a lot of notoriety behind his name. But there's still a lot of conservative patriots that Chase did this to. And I would ask you guys to continue this just overwhelming contact of emails and closing out your accounts until they're ready to open up all the conservative accounts. We got their attention with General Flynn, and it's great that we had someone with that kind of name that helped us get to what we were looking for. But at the same time, as great as General Flynn is, every conservative that it happened to, they're just as equally as important than General Flynn is. So what I would say is, let's do the second half of this mission, continue it, and say, hey, General Flynn was the first part. We want you to reinstitute every conservative account, or we're closing our accounts. And tell them, if we don't see, give them a deadline, do a hashtag on social media, Chase, by September 30th, reinstitute all conservative accounts, or all conservatives will close it. Somebody come up with something creative and then put it out there, and we'll make that accomplish. So that's one victory that I hope gives you guys some motivation. Let me get another one out here for you guys to take a look at. Like I said, there's about 5 of them. And let me take a look at the time. All right, we'll rush through this fast. Click on the next one. And of course, it would move everything on me, you guys. Let's see. Here we go. Let me add it. Now, there's two other wins that I want to bring up. The first one is Governor Ron DeSantis. And the other one's going to be Greg Abbott. And for those of you who have joined my spaces on Twitter, you guys know I don't give anybody an easy slide. I've been very, I don't want to say against them because I'm not. I'm a supportive of them, but I've been very demanding of Governor DeSantis and Governor Abbott out of Texas. And I know you guys love them. And like I said, I support them, but there's red flags, and those red flags are, DeSantis gets a lot of mainstream media attention, and they don't blast him too hard. And that's something that catches my eye, so I say use caution. With Abbott, he moves a little slow, and I know Tickle's probably gripping her wine glass right now. I know he moves slow, Tickle, because he gets results and they don't get contested. And I've been watching that, and you're right, But Governor Ron DeSantis signs landmark legislation to ban vaccine passports and stem government overreach. So in the state of Florida, these people that try to institute it, they're going to be hit with a fine. And I believe when I read through the article, it was like a $5,000 fine. That's a win, you guys. We just need to get that across all the different state borders. Abbott, one that's very powerful to me because, like I said, aside from using this broadcast to get the attention of our political prisoners, I want to use this broadcast to attack human trafficking, and I want to use this broadcast to save the life of every unborn baby that we possibly can. And Abbott hit a home run. And you know what? I wish I had sound effects and stuff like that because he cranked it out. Abortions, after 6 weeks, they're not going to happen in Texas. Not only does that make me smile, the good Lord above us, that puts a smile on his face. And I know for the vast majority of conservatives, that's a win for us, you guys. The next one, come on. And like I said, I'm not going to pull these up because it's a little time consuming and we're approaching the half-hour mark. We got Cuomo's gone. There's a win, you guys. Newsom's on the recall. We're going to talk about that real quick. These are wins. So even though we're dealing with the election stuff, even though we're pissed off that we know fraud took place, and it's moving. Arizona's moving at a slow rate, and everybody has speculations to why Durham report's moving at a slow rate. And let me get the comments back up because I was off that screen. I want to make sure I know you guys are talking about. I know these things are moving at slow rates, but it's happening. So yeah, I'm not saying we need to take our foot off the gas pedal. We need to push down a little lower. but don't be so hard, and don't lose the hope. There's a word going around, the hopium. Hang on to it, because we are making some big strides. We are winning some good stuff, and we got to keep it up. So the next thing, and like I said, I'll speed through this because our special guest is going to come on around the 35 minute mark. In California, you guys, so the people that were in here from California, we're a few days away from our recall. It's very important, you guys. Two things we got to vote on. The first one, yes on the recall. The second one, vote on who you're supporting, whether it's Larry Elder or the other gentlemen or the ladies that are running for it. But the main thing is vote yes on this recall. Trust me, my suspicions are that they're going to do election fraud and all that other stuff. I'm pretty sure the white hats know it, and they've got their eyes on it. And if they do the fraud, mark my words, that's what's going to open up Pandora's box to get our forensic audit here in California. So let's do our part. Let's vote. Let's pull our family out there to vote. Show up in person. As a matter of fact, let me pull it up while we're talking about this. So if anybody is not sure, I had these last time, you guys. I made some cool ones, and I was so excited and trying to get through the show that I forgot about it. So at the bottom of the screen, you should see a ticker, and on there's a website. Click on that website, or actually this one's not clickable, but write it down, and it'll tell you where the local ballot drops are and give you all the mail-in dates and all that other stuff. But be a part of it. So with the California recall, we got Larry Elder. In this video I am going to play. So let me pull this up. Let me get this one off the screen. Let me remove some stuff. Make this a little easier. Go over here. By the way, look at this cool coffee mug. Showing you the right side, right? Okay, good. Be a fail if I was showing you a blank side of the coffee cup, but it'd get some good laughs. So what I want to show you here is Larry Elder. Make sure I got the audio queued up. Let's share it. Let's make this big. I'm going to mute my mic while we play this.
The challengers came to the Bay Area. Larry Elder wrapped up a rally just a few hours ago at a church that made national headlines during the pandemic. ABC 7 News reporter Dustin Dorsey has the story.
Call in San Jose.
The pandemic. ABC 7 News reporter Dustin Dorsey has the story.
Republican candidate for governor of California, Larry Elder, was greeted by cheers from a packed crowd at Calvary Church in San Jose Thursday afternoon. Just about 1 month until the recall election, Elder took aim at Gavin Newsom as he looked to rally support.
This man that I'm going to defeat on September the 14th, he has shut down this state in the most severe way than any of the other 49 governors have.
The crowd came from across the state to the South Bay to hear their favorite candidate speak on the ways he would improve California, including cost of living, forest management, homelessness, and crime. The people who we spoke with have made up their minds. They say Larry Elder is the best person to fix these problems.
He's a business guy. He's well known. He's well spoken, and a lot of his ideas will fit well with the state.
We have an opportunity to get rid of a tyrant who just yesterday threw everybody connected to education under the vax bus.
Larry Elder is strongly against vaccine or mask mandates for the state. In the same church that defied COVID-19 guidelines last year, Elder made a promise to the mostly maskless crowd.
When I get elected, assuming that there still are face mask mandates and vaccine mandates, they will be repealed right away. And then I'm going to break for breakfast.
Governor Gavin Newsom's campaign sent out an email response to Elder's views on COVID-19. The email said Elder would be a disaster for California, and it's no wonder Donald Trump and Larry Elder get along so well. Governor Newsom will be in San Francisco tomorrow as part of a statewide tour to vote no on the recall. In San Jose, Dustin Dorsey, ABC 7 News.
Make sure my mic's unmuted. So I like what Larry Elder said. You guys, hold on. Give me 1 second, you guys. I got a commercial playing in my ear that you guys can't hear, I don't think. My apologies. I can't. Trying to get it to stop. There you go. So just so you guys know, in my ears, I was hearing a Popeyes commercial. I think it was Popeyes. It was about chicken anyways. So I wanted to go into the teacher part. We have a guest that's coming up. So we'll go into my guest once he jumps in here. And then once we complete with him, I'll touch on the teacher part. But I do want to cover this thing with Larry Alder. Like I said, I know I've been very, very hard on him. And guess what? I'm still going to be. I like what he said. I like that he went out publicly and said he's gonna, if the mask mandates are still in effect, he's gonna get rid of it. If there's any jab mandates, he's gonna get rid of it. I like that stuff. But someone record this part and get it to Larry Alder, because this is what I'm gonna say. Larry Alder, I want to know what you're gonna do about California's red flag laws. I want you to go public with that. I want to know what you're gonna do with our border wall. I want you to go public with that. I want you to know what you're going to do to get the funding into our law enforcement the way we need it. I want you to go public with that. I want you to double our border patrol, our custom. I want you to do that. That's the stuff that if you want my support, and like I said, I know the election is right around the corner, and if we get our way, you'll get in there. But I'm telling you, I will hold you to it, and I will get the conservatives of California to hold you to it. If you don't go and do the things that we want, because we're way beyond just wanting you to remove mask mandates and all that. That's a good start, and it definitely got my attention and other conservatives' attention here in California. But there's a lot of things in this state that need to get taken care of. Go public with that. You go public with that, you'll have my support right off the bat. But if you get elected, I will be calling your office every day, and I will be that fly that just bugs the hell out of you until you start doing these things and do a call to action on that. So I know you said you're going to have breakfast. You don't have time for breakfast, and you don't have time for lunch. As a matter of fact, and I know some of my listeners are going to love this, you'll skip breakfast, you'll skip lunch, and you're going to schedule a dinner meeting, and you're going to have that dinner meeting with Ron DeSantis. You're going to have that dinner meeting with Abbott. You're going to find out what those guys are doing to make their states free. Take those notes, learn from them, do that in our state, and then the next day, then have breakfast. But take care of that stuff first. Our guest is here with us, you guys. I'm going to bring him on. He's going to share, like I said, he's the father of one of the political prisoners that's being held in Washington, D.C., in the jails out there. We're going to hear his story, and I really want you guys to listen to what he has to say. Pay attention to this. This is the part that's very important to me, because I understand where he's coming from and how he feels. So, with no further, let me get him in here, you guys. How's it going? Can you hear me, Gene?
Oh, I can hear you perfect. Thank you.
Outstanding. I can hear you as well.
Beautiful.
Gene,
Thanks for having me on tonight.
No, absolutely, and thank you for making the time. I know it's really late where you're at right now,
That's okay.
So I appreciate you staying up with us. I'm going to start off with asking you to kind of give us, the listeners, a summary of kind of what happened to your son. And while you're explaining that, I'll go ahead and throw the ticker with your son's campaign message. But go ahead.
First of all, can everyone see my hat? It says "We the people are really pissed off." So my son was down in D.C. on January 6th. He didn't go down with any group or anything. He just wanted to go down to hear the president speak. And about 3 weeks later, in January, he gets a call from the FBI, who started interviewing him. I don't remember what it was. It was sometime in January. They spoke with him on 4 separate occasions, in person, also on the phone, and via email. An arrest warrant came out for his arrest on March 11th, I believe it was. Nobody came to the house. They allowed him to turn himself in. And when he turned himself in on Friday, March 12th, the local magistrate in Buffalo, New York, let him go to me. 4 days later, the Chief Justice Howell in Washington, D.C., just like she did just about everybody else, overturned the local decision to release him, saying that he was a threat to the government and a threat to society. Well, the question I have, along with a number of these detainees, is if he was such a threat, why did the FBI interview him in person on 4 separate occasions, speak to him on the phone and via email for a period of 6 weeks? So if he was such a threat, shouldn't they have had a warrant out for his arrest prior to that instead of letting him turn himself in? And then also, after Judge Howell overturned the decision of the local magistrate, federal magistrate, he was allowed to turn himself in a second time within a matter of 4 days to the U.S. Marshals in Buffalo, New York. And upon his surrender in Buffalo on March, I don't remember what the date was, 4 days after the 12th, so that would have been, the 16th. He's been down in D.C. since the middle of March with the other 30-some detainees in the D.C. jail. And so I think the consensus is that what the government has done is they've charged these individuals, and now they're trying to find the evidence to fit the charges that they've filed against them. And in the meantime, they're holding them. When I say, I mean them, not just my son. I speak for all of them. And they're holding them while they try and drum up the evidence to support the charges that they have filed against these individuals.
If you can hold that thought for me, because I want you to continue with that, Gene, but I also want my listeners to understand, those of you that were here for the first episode, those of you that are familiar with me, you know my background is law enforcement. I've written search warrants, I've written arrest warrants, and what Gene's explaining to us is absolutely 100% accurate. I would never, nor would any of the officers or investigators I ever worked with, you don't go and arrest somebody if your case isn't ready or finished yet. You go, you have a case that's solid, and you go, then you make your arrest, you're ready to go to trial. Now, from occasion, there's supplemental information, there's small things that happen, there's continued part of the investigation, but the major portion of your investigation is done. If what's going on with our January 6th political prisoners, if the prosecutors don't have the case ready, then you need to release these people, and then when you're ready, then file the charges and rearrest them. So just understand that this is what he's explaining to you guys, and it's 100% accurate. And I'm speaking from that from someone who's wrote these investigations, wrote these warrants, and gone to trial on them. But please continue, sir.
So every time any of these individuals go for a status hearing to determine where their case is at, the government keeps asking for an extension. I can use my son's example. He had a status hearing in June. The government asked for an extension. He had another one August 3rd. They asked for an extension. Fortunately, his attorney isn't agreeing to the total amount of time that the government is asking for. He has another one coming up sometime towards the end of this month. I'm sure the government's going to ask for more time, but I don't know what's going to happen. The court is on record that his attorney will be filing a motion for his release based on some evidence that has come out. So hopefully that'll go through. But again, none of these individuals should be detained and the government just keep asking for extension. They don't have what they need to really support the charges against a number of these individuals. And that's why they keep asking for extensions, because there's so much material. They say there's so much material to go through that it's taken them a while. Well, then release these people and let them be free until trial or until they get a plea bargain that is amenable to them.
I completely agree. Now, Gene, when was the last time you spoke with your son?
Well, fortunately, we speak with Thomas just about every day, several times a day. He just called about an hour ago, but we told him to make another phone call at that point. But fortunately, we speak with him usually several times a day, so that's good in that sense.
Now, is that something you guys have had the ability to do with him from the beginning, or is that something that's recently taken place? Have you guys always had like that open communication with him?
We have, especially since he's arrived in D.C. He was in a detention facility in Youngstown, Ohio, prior to being transferred to D.C. So when he was there, it wasn't as much as it is now, but that was only for a week. But now, since he's been in D.C. in March, we've had the opportunity fortunately, to be able to speak with him on a daily basis.
Now, I do want to ask you some questions about what life is like for your son and the people that he's able to hear from that's in there. But before we get into that, I think it's really important, and I want my listeners to have this, is we all are upset with what's happening with our political prisoners and what's happening to them. But we see it as a movement, we see it as, a hashtag on social media, but we don't always know these people beyond the name. So if you could, briefly just tell us about your son, is he a family man, kids, help us to understand him through your eyes.
So Thomas is he'll be 36 in 2 weeks, September 23rd, he'll be 36. He's just received a master's degree in public health a couple years ago from Niagara University, Niagara Falls, New York, 4-year school. And he's been working in the nursing home industry for a number of years. Because of the FBI coming to his place of employment in January, he lost his job because of that, because they came to his place of employment. And so overall, Thomas is a wonderful young man, and we miss him. It's not the same around here without him.
Well,
he lived out on his own. He had a condo a couple blocks away from our house, so he was here a few times a week. He's the oldest of 4 boys. There's about 3 years between the first 3, and between Thomas and the youngest one, there's 11 years. The
How does this?
25.
Let me ask you this question, because I want to know, because it's probably how my mother feels about what's going on. How has this affected you, and how do you feel knowing where your son's at and what he's going through, being the father? This is your son. How is this affecting you?
It's not easy. Especially, and like we discussed previously, I can't discuss any specifics of what's going on with him. But some of the allegations that have been leveled against him are not who he is. So that's why it's very difficult to comprehend what the government is saying that he did. And there's things that are coming out that, like I said, I can't get into details. But not only for him, for everybody, there's going to be things that come out in the end that, if not completely exonerating these individuals, they're not going to be the monsters that the government is making them out to be.
Absolutely. With, and I've, obviously we're both familiar with Pete Santilli, and he's just been a magnificent man to help, people like myself and your son and others out. And I'm hearing, I hear about the way some prisoners are treated, and I'm hearing some, not treated so bad, some being treated horrifically. Is your son okay? Is he is he one of the ones that, they're treating very bad?
No, fortunately, he's been treated well. He has a good rapport with the guards, and which, as a matter of fact, mentioning the guards, even the guards at where they're at, because they're kept separate from the DC jail. The individuals from January 6th are in a totally separate section from the DC jail. The detainees from January 6th are all kept together. There's about 35 of them. But even the guards have questioned, like, why are you guys still here? they're wondering, why are you being held?
And I'll tell you, that is one of the questions I've had, because obviously we see what kind of charges are in the narrative, and for the most part, it's a lot of trespassing. And from the cases that I've been keeping track of and going through, a lot of the alleged charges, which I think have no grounds to begin with, but even if they did, I mean, even if these patriots came out and pled guilty to some of these, just atrocious charges that they had, they would have already served way more time than they would have gotten. And that's the part that's ridiculous to me. I mean, we have some of our patriots in there that have just been in there for months.
And I think that's what the government's trying to do, is because they can't really find anything to prove these charges. So they say, okay, we're just going to keep them. And then after a certain amount of time, we're going to say, okay, here's the charges, or we'll offer you this plea deal, and it's time served. So they ended up getting something out of them, even though they probably know that if it goes to trial, they're not going to be able to win a lot of these cases. So, and
I think that's why they're trying to scare them up front with all these overwhelming charges, is to get people to plea out to lesser things. Because I agree with you, when Discovery is actually released the way it should be, and these cases go to trial, they're not going to hold any water.
Right. So they're offering. They haven't offered Thomas any plea deals yet, but some of the plea deals they're offering are horrendous. They offered, without mentioning any names, a couple of weeks ago, they said, here, plead guilty to the felony and we'll erase the misdemeanors. Well, wait a minute. Shouldn't it be the other way around? We'll plead guilty to these misdemeanors and we'll let the felony go away. I don't know why anyone would plead guilty to a felony and take the misdemeanors, but that's a decision that each individual has to make on their own and in consultation with their attorney. There might be some underlying causes that maybe that was a good situation for him.
Well, I can give you some insight into that from my experience. And like I said, I only experienced it for a little bit more than a day. I can't even fathom. I mean, it breaks my heart, because I can hear the hurt and concern in your voice. And it breaks my heart because I was thrown into solitary confinement. Me and you, we talked, off camera for a while. And that was the first night that I had ever spent away from my newborn. She was around 2 months old at the time. And that cell was small. And the majority of these people that are in these, in these cells, whether it's solitary confinement cells or a regular cell, the majority of them don't have prior criminal records to where they've been in a jail before, like myself. So it's a very, very scary thing to be exposed to when you're not from that criminal element, but now you are. You're a part of it. You're living it. And the hurt that I couldn't hold my daughter. I couldn't talk to, it was, my son. It was just a few days after his birthday. I didn't know how long I was going to be in there. I didn't know what my family was able to accomplish out there. There's all these questions, and it's not like you can just grab a phone at will and call and ask or pay for it. And it's scary. And I know a lot of these people that are in there that aren't veterans, they're just patriotic Americans. They have to just be so much in pain right now because of how long they've been away. They haven't been touched. Your son hasn't had a chance to be hugged by you,
right?
Or to be in that present, and that's painful. And just for my listeners, I want you guys to understand, when you guys are like, well, why do they plead out to these things? Because I'm frustrated too, but just understand they're being tortured, you guys. And sometimes you'll just plea out because you just want it to be over, and that's why we have, we're getting our voice out there. And Gene, if you can talk about, the change that you've seen over time.
Well, one thing I'd like to say is that fortunately, my wife and I have the means to help support Thomas with what's going on here back home. One of the things that he'll have a little difficulty with when he does get released is getting his life back in order from this period from March until now. But there's other families that there's husbands that are being detained that were the primary breadwinner for the family, and some of them are having some very difficult times because of that financially, or they have little kids at home that need to be taken care of. So right now, as far as our situation personally, we're able to handle it, but Thomas is going to need help when he gets out as far as getting his life back together. But don't forget about the other families that are in much more dire circumstances financially or with little children than what Thomas is. But as far as getting back to your question, if you talked about this whole January 6th incident not too many months ago, probably a lot of people would say, well, you know what, they're getting what they deserve. But there's been some rallies that have gone on. Word has gotten out. It doesn't matter how big the rally is or how small. It's just that the message is going out and what's happening, and these people are being detained unconstitutionally. There's several amendments, several areas of the Constitution that are being violated by their detention. And I have to give a hand out to Matt Brainerd for Look Ahead America for organizing a rally in D.C. in July 17th, which was right outside the D.C. jail. Very peaceful, no issues, well attended by a number of people. He is also organizing one coming up on September 18th in D.C., which has gotten some bad publicity because of CNN, MSNBC, because they're trying to put the kibosh on this, because probably CNN and MSNBC do not want word to get out as far as what is really going on with the January 6th detainees. And also Kara Castronova from CAPP is also going to be at this rally also with her group. So September 18th, Washington, D.C., it's going to be big rally. It is not a political rally. It is strictly to support the political prisoners that are being held, not only in D.C. There's 30-some in D.C. Some of them are in Northern Virginia. There's other ones throughout the country. But I think the most publicity is comes from the ones that are being held in D.C. So
let me ask.
Anybody that can make it September 18th to D.C., please come and show your support. You don't know how much it means.
Let me ask you this, Gene, for the patriots that are listening, and as you can tell by the comments, there's a lot of people that are very moved by what's happening to your son and your family. For the people that are listening, they're like, what can I do beyond donating money? What can I do? What would you advise them, or what would you suggest?
Talk to your friends and family. It's interesting that you asked that, because at the rally, July 17th, I don't have her card in front of me, but there's a young lady from some organization, news. She says, what can we do? I said, you know what you can do? What you're doing right now. You're here. Get the word out. Talk to people. Tell people what's going on, that these people are being held. They should not be held. That is the most important thing, is to get the word out that these people, these detainees need to be released. Regardless of what happens, if their cases go to trial, that's fine. But release them in the time being while they're awaiting trial. There's no need to detain them. As a matter of fact, it's really against the U.S. Constitution to be detaining these people.
So many violations of our Constitution that are taking place right now. When you've talked to your son, has he expressed a message that he would like, the Americans to hear? Has he ever conveyed anything to you, like, hey, Dad, tell this to everyone you talk to?
Yes. Regardless of what you hear from the media, the mainstream media, those individuals, and I don't want to say all of them, but the overwhelming majority of those that went to D.C. on January 6th did not go there to try and overthrow the U.S. government. That was not their purpose. The only purpose was they wanted to be heard, that there was some question as far as the integrity of the election, and they were asking our elected officials to at least look into the accusations. There is no intent to overthrow the government.
And I think
you hear the word insurrection. There was no preconceived thought of an insurrection.
And it's funny because I think when the truth, and this is why I pray for, my brothers and sisters, that are behind bars because of this. I pray that God gives them the strength that they can go the distance in this to trial, because I have a strong feeling that when the government realizes that all this discovery has to be made public, I think there's going to be some details that are going to get revealed that we're all pretty sure took place. That's going to shock the conscience of the American people, and what things kind of took place to paint the picture of these good people that we see now. And I think if they can just hold on and wait, I think it'll benefit them, and that's what my prayers are.
I think that, and I can only speak for the ones in D.C., but I think there's pretty much a consensus amongst those in D.C. that unless they get some outstanding plea deal, they're going to trial with these cases, because that's the way they feel. They feel as though if it goes to trial, the government really doesn't have anything. However, Nancy Pelosi is trying to not release everything, but I don't know how or if she'll be able to get away with that.
Speaking of Miss Pelosi, what are your thoughts on this bipartisan committee that she put?
You want to hear the letter that I wrote to the Buffalo News?
I would absolutely, and I think my listeners would like to hear it as well.
Give me 1 second, and while I'm looking for it, I'll tell you what happened here. So, this was a number of months ago. I wrote a letter to the Buffalo News. And I've written previous letters to the Buffalo News. So as it went on, okay. So as it went on, the lady called me. This letter was first written when Nancy Pelosi was announcing the formation of the Select Committee. It's before anybody else was named, just the Democrats and Liz Cheney. So let me read the letter, and then I'll tell you what the Buffalo News did. So it says, this is a letter to the editor now. It's supposed to be in the opinion op-ed page. It says, Nancy Pelosi announced the formation of a partisan select committee to investigate the 6th January, quote, insurrection, unquote. Although one might say the committee is bipartisan with the inclusion of Representative Cheney, she is not a Republican in many aspects. This public should be concerned about the partisan nature of this committee. The House minority should immediately file a motion against this committee denouncing contamination of the jury pool for political purposes from the podium. Nancy Pelosi calling them insurrectionists because it destroys the presumption of innocence. It is also incumbent upon our elected representatives to look into the conditions in which individuals are being held in D.C. in violation of their rights supposedly guaranteed by the United States Constitution. Specifically, Amendment 6, which, quote, guarantees the rights of criminal defendants, including the right to a public trial without unnecessary delay, unquote. Amendment 8, which states, quote, excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted, unquote. This amendment prohibits the federal government from imposing unduly harsh penalties on criminal defendants, either as the price for obtaining pre-trial release. So that letter was written as a letter to the editor of the Buffalo News. So it's probably about 4 weeks ago now, I get a phone call from the lady that runs that section of the paper. Nice lady, I've dealt with her before. And she says to me, she goes, the editors decided that they'll publish your letter, but There's one stipulation. I said, what's that? They want you to put in quotation marks underneath your name, father of Thomas Sibick. And I said, first of all, I won't do that. I said, this is supposed to be an opinion page. It's my opinion, not Thomas's. And I said, secondly, so what you're telling me is that the Buffalo News is trying to censor what I am saying. And I said, you can go back to your editors and say, I'm not doing that. And you can tell them what I said. And I said, and I will take this nationally also. So the letter that I just read to you, I also read on Pete's show at the end of July. And it's been read at a couple of the rallies around the country. So I have taken it nationally. And I told the Buffalo News that I would mention them by name and what they tried to do.
I'm glad you shared it, because the one thing that I'm preaching to my listeners last week, and I will in the weeks, is to get off the couch and do something. And just imagine, for those that are listening to what Gene's telling us, just imagine if all of us once a week bombarded them with letters like this. It would be so hard to ignore. We complain about the mainstream media. Let's write them. Let's get these letters out there, telling them how we feel and what we see.
Not only that, I mean, letters. If there's any rallies in your area, please attend the rallies. I don't care whether they're for the detainees. There was just a big rally. Pete streamed it live today in Las Vegas about mask and vaccine mandates in Vegas. Over 1,000 people speaking out. Don't be afraid to speak out. We have to speak out.
And the phrase you said, don't be afraid. And this is what everybody has to realize. I get it. We see what the mainstream media is putting out there. They're building this narrative for this false flag or things that we anticipate. The Department of Homeland Security created a new definition of what a domestic terrorist is, which is outlined patriots. I know people are afraid to go to these rallies because they're like, I don't want to be the next January 6th. So it's this fear that they're doing to keep you in your homes. We still have to go out there, be a voice, make a presence. We just have to be smart. We have to keep our eyes open, our heads on a swivel, but we can't let that fear deter us from doing these things, or it's going to hurt us bring the attention to these things that we need to support.
I'm reading a book about the Norwegian resistance in World War II against the Nazis, and there's a quote in the book that I saw last night that I love it, and it says, "Rise up, people, and unleash the storm."
And that storm is coming, sir.
Yes.
Eugene, I appreciate you having here tonight. I know there's, just from reading the comments, you're going to have a lot of prayers for your son tonight. You guys, at the bottom of the ticker, there's a Give, Send, Go link to help support Gene's son. Just understand, when these patriots get out of prison, get out of these jails, that's just the beginning of fixing things. I lost my job. It cost me my benefits. I don't have medical insurance right now, so I have to try to keep myself healthy and not broken. I've been put on a TSA watch list. I have a great resume, just like a lot of these patriots do, and I make it to that application process. But guess what? Now there's this thing of this arrest that pops up that people just want to shy away from. So just understand, Gene's son, when he gets out and he sits to see the light and taste freedom again, that's just the beginning of him taking control of his life. So if you have the means to, please, go to that link, donate what you can. If times are tough and you can't donate, send a prayer. Let the family know that you stand behind them. Gene, thank you for giving us the time. Is there anything you want to say before we let you go?
No, just thanks. Thank you for the support that everyone has shown up to this point, and hopefully it's just the beginning. And like I said, when I speak, I don't speak just for my son. Of course, I have a vested interest in him, but I speak for all the detainees and their trials and tribulations and what their families are going through. So thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it. This is just another opportunity to get the word out, and that's what we need to do, get the word out. Education. Educate the people, educate the public.
Well, thanks for being here, Gene, and thanks for being that voice, because there's a lot of patriots in there that don't have the family support that your son does.
Right.
So, we'll keep in contact, and hopefully we get some good news from your son. So,
All right.
Take it easy, sir.
All right. Thank.
Give me 1 second, you guys. There, you guys heard it. That's a lot of you are parents. I mean, you could hear it in Gene's voice, and you could see it on his face. He's hurting for his son, you guys. I see the look on my mother's face. You know, I'm sure she's watching this right now. There's a lot of people with heavy hearts right now, you guys. There's a lot of people that are suffering right now. What are you doing about it? If you care about my story, if you care about Gene's story and his son, what are you going to do about it? I'm happy that you're listening, and I'm happy that you're here. But what are you going to do about it? What beyond a tweet, beyond a like, beyond a share, beyond shedding a tear, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that shed some tears tonight as we heard the story, is a very hard thing to hear and not be emotionally impacted by it. But when you go to sleep and you wake up tomorrow, what are you going to do? And I challenge you, if you don't know, reach out to me on Twitter. Send me an email, the AlphaWarrior Show at protonmail.com. I will give you ideas. I will connect you with people to help. But do something, you guys. Make phone calls. I tell you all the time. We saw the victories with Chase Bank and General Flynn. We can have those same victories for our political prisoners. Remember why they're there. You're not supporting someone that went and did something for themselves. I'm calling you out to support Americans that were in a place to stand up for something that you believe in. I'm telling you to support political prisoners that are being tortured right now by not being with their families and their kids. They're there because they stood up for something that you believe in too. The only difference between them being there and you're not was that they were there in the place and they got tied up into it. So I know we went over the 8 o'clock hour. We'll touch on the school, revolutionizing our students. We'll do that on the next episode. We have another guest coming next week, you guys. I would ask you guys, please keep this family in prayer. Keep my family in prayer. I have a give, send, go as well, if you guys are able to. And give me 1 second. I'll have that stream. Give me 1 second. That's there. Actually, there is something I want to do, and it won't take that long. And it was from one of our Twitter patriots who has a neighbor who's a World War II veteran. And I want to bring that up so you guys can take a look at this, because this is super awesome. And I do want to finish with some, like I said, I want to finish with some smiles. And I think this will accomplish that. So let me pull it up. Let me find it. Just give me 1 second, you guys. There's a lot of things here, and I want to make sure I pull it up. There we go. So right here, one of our patriots, this happens to be her neighbor. World War II veteran. He's gonna turn 100, you guys, on the 30th of this month. How freaking awesome is that? World War II veteran, and he is gonna be 1 century old. I mean, talk about a guy that's just freaking rock hard, you know, stone cold badass. So World War II veteran Lawrence Decker from New Mexico is turning 100 on September 30th. There's a little write-up that's on there, but I'm going to scroll down because what I want you guys to see, what our patriot is asking for, let me scroll, is that we surprise him by writing him some birthday letters, telling him that we appreciate him, you know, happy birthday and whatever else you're moved to tell him. So the address, mail your cards to it's Lawrence Decker, and it's P.O. Box 928, Springer, New Mexico, 87747. And before I close the show out, I'll have that pop up there again so you guys can see it. But this is a World War II veteran. It happens to be a close neighbor to one of our patriots on Twitter. So let's write this man some letters. I mean, just the sheer fact that he lived to 100 is impressive. But the fact that he's one of our World War II veterans, that's pretty awesome too. So let me get this off, and I will get that address back up there for you guys to see, and then I'll have some closing remarks, and we'll call it a night. So there we go. So it's up there while I close these remarks. You guys, like I said, I want to keep the shows to an hour. I appreciate everybody coming. We have some more special guests that are lined up in the weeks to come. Some big names, some neighbors. But regardless, patriotic Americans, it's an important. I would tell you guys, like I told you last week, get off the couch and do something. I love you guys. I care about all of you guys, but I want us to make a difference, and we're not going to make a difference by just sticking to social media. Social media is a really good place for us to find like-minded patriots. It's a really good place to come home to find information, but then you need to take it upon yourself to get out there, reach across your community, get that information out. I have a really cool guest, another really cool guest. I got a lot of cool guests, but another really cool one that I met this past weekend that is doing exactly what I'm saying, is taking that call to action, got a group together, is making a difference in California. It's going to take that difference nationwide, and I'm very excited for them to talk to you guys as well. So everybody have a good night. Hopefully I'll see you guys on Spaces tonight, and with that, I'll be signing off. I will leave that address up here for another minute so you guys can see Semper Fi, the Alpha Warrior Show, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.